let's hurry up before we forget how this all goes back together and ruin my backyard. So here are the 2-inch cotter pins. That's not going anywhere.
And then you can see you made a nice divot right exactly on the cross point. So it's got to be just like Goldie Bears, the Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It's got to be just right.
So this is called a tap and die.
Tap and die set.
Doesn't that look like a Christmas tree stand? This is not normal. I'm a little concerned about this spit not being perfectly straight. The rope's getting all caught up in these branches. Today I'm going to make a new, improved rotisserie spit 3.0. It won't include all this stuff, just these 2 posts, this wooden spit, the bearings, the wheel, and some EMT, some cotter pins. It all comes together, it works like a dream. One of the problems I've been having is getting the wheel to grip well onto the spit. And as you know, watching some of my other videos, I was using a galvanized pipe, and the gases that they emit when the fire reaches a certain temperature are not good for your health. So I really want to go back to a wooden spit. But how do I attach a bicycle wheel to a wooden spit? Here's one of the ends of the spit. So the spit will go through this bearing here, like that. And unfortunately, this bearing is not big enough to allow this 3/4 inch to go through. It's just slightly too small. And I tried shaving a previous stick to fit in there. Well, that was a disaster. We won't go into that right now. So what I did was purchase a 1-inch bearing. But when I got the 1-inch bearing, look, it's too big. It's way too big. So now what? Another problem. I guess I'll have to first explain how the wheel is rigged up, and then I figured out, thanks to my good friend Mike, you know who you are, and a little bit of advice from my dad, figured out what seems to be a very good solution. So I needed a way to attach a spit to this, and what I came up with is just removing 3 spokes on this far side here to come off. Took them off this round rim, I guess you call it. And then I got this round plastic. It's pretty hard and durable. It's a cover for an outdoor electrical outlet, or maybe not an outlet, but a box, electrical box. And I drilled some holes in it and bolted 3 bolts where those spokes were right onto that rim. So that secured this first plate in place and attached it to the wheel. So when the wheel turns, this plastic disc also turns. Now on this side, I needed a little bit more clearance in order to fit this connector because of the width of the axle here. So what I did was I got some vinyl, I think they're vinyl spacers, 4 of them, and then attached another round electrical box cover, bolted that through, and attached this connector. This is what electricians use to go into electrical boxes. It's an 3/4 inch EMT electrical conduit connector. So now I have an opening here for a 3/4 inch pipe, but I thought that a 3/4 inch pipe, well, that's pretty thick to go through a chicken. So I decided to go with 1/2 inch and then use a spacer to go over the 1/2 inch, and that fit pretty snugly in there. But the problem over time was that since this set screw doesn't go through the EMT, and it would only go through, if I had a longer screw, it would go through the plastic spacer, but what I found was that this wheel was turning, but the spit was staying still. So that was a kind of an issue. And then I asked you in comments for some suggestions, and come to find out, my good friend Mike, he suggested that I treat it like a Christmas tree stand. So on a Christmas tree stand, you have 3 screws usually, and they all screw in and tighten the tree, right? So that's what I was going to do. And then my dad was here today, and I was talking to him about it, and he suggested that I just stick the pipe in, drill a hole through all the way through the pipe, and stick a cotter pin in there. Wow, that's a really simple solution. Plus, it'll go all the way through, and the whole thing, well, the whole thing will turn. So it just so happens that this is 3/4 inch EMT. This is a 3/4 inch EMT connector, so that's a perfect fit. And this is 3/4 inch poplar with a spider on it. But this poplar fits right in there. So this is here, and then the wheel goes over both. I have a cotter pin in here, and then I was thinking have another cotter pin in here, so it's all not dependent on the end of the wood here. You're kind of spreading the movement between 2 cotter pins. So I think that's what I'm going to do. All right, so we have the bicycle wheel, the EMT, extra piece of EMT, the wooden spit. Put that together like that, and then this will go through there, and now we have a pretty good connection. I mean, it's not perfect, but with the set screws, or 2 set screws, it's good enough to cook chicken. The bicycle wheel will go on right here. I might actually make this piece a little bit longer, so I have a little flexibility to connect the bearing to the EMT 3/4 inch pipe here. I got these conduit straps, I guess you call them. So the bearing will go on here, and I'll have 2 of them, one here, and then the pipe goes through there. And if I want to tighten it, I just use this wing nut. I purchased that wing nut separately. So what we're going to do is we want to make sure, okay, you want the spit to go through here, so the conduit will run this way, like this, which means this open part that accepts the pipe will have to be perpendicular to the bearing here. So that goes in like that, and I have this I think it's a 1/4 inch by 1 inch bolt with a washer on each side. So stick that through the back of the bearing, just like that, and put the washer on this side and the nut. Tighten that up, finger tight for now, and we'll do the same thing on the bottom. So that's just finger tight. Now, I learned that before I really tighten that down, I want to stick it over the EMT so it's properly aligned, like that. You don't want this to be crooked, then you won't be able to fit it easily over both pipes. We just take a wrench, and we're not actually tightening it to the pipe right now, we're just tightening it to the conduit strap. And that's easily adjustable. All you have to do is tighten these wing nuts. I don't know why they're on opposite sides here. I guess I'll fix that. Oh, I know. So the side that faces the fire is going to be hottest, so I don't want the wing nut facing the fire. I have this scrap piece of about 30 inches of 3/4 inch EMT, so I think about 16 inches will be sufficient and give me some flexibility depending on the campsite and the size of the fire pit. I just like to have some flexibility. I mean, this one would probably be fine, but I found that sometimes if you have a little bit more room to play with, you can align the wheel better with the rope. So this won't interfere. Oh, sorry about that. I got a new tripod in the way. This one is sticking together with duct tape. So I marked 16 inches right here. And if you never used a pipe cutter before, it's pretty easy to use. Get this at a big box store. See how that retracts when you go left, and it goes in when you turn it right, and it has these two rollers here. So the pipe goes onto those rollers, and you align this blade with the mark that you made on the pipe, and you just tighten the blade down to that mark. It's hard to do it on the table here. Okay, so that's pretty lined up. And then all you do is make a series of rotations. And after each full rotation, slightly tighten it a little bit more. And what it does is score the metal. You can see that line there. Tighten, go around. Sometimes I go around twice. Tighten, go around. The first time is a little rough, and the second time is easier. There. So, now which one was the 16 inch? So that's 16 inch, and you have to be careful because at the end here, there can be burrs, and you might slice your finger open. So, they sell what is, I think it's called a reamer. But basically, you put this in your drill, and it has 3 different levels: 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 1 inch. So you get it down to the level you want, and it just spins around and smooths out the rough edge with the spurs. I think someone out there can tell me what this is. I kind of think that's the same thing, but I don't know how to use it. We'll save that for another video. Actually, my dad probably can show me that one. I'll have to ask him. So that goes in the drill. Get it down to the 3/4 inch level right there. And I'll just slowly, and some of the metal comes off and reduces the possibility of getting cut. I'm probably not doing it right, but just using intuition, that seems to work out okay. Now that fits in there, and this will go through the bearing and adjust wherever I need it. So let's set the spit up now. Well, I don't have the cotter pin yet. I'll show you that later, but I'm gonna have to drill through here. Actually, let's do that now. Let's drill through here, through the EMT, and then we'll have a hole ready to accept the cotter pin. I really think I need to have another cotter pin on this end. I could probably just put it on the very end here, actually. Yeah, let's do that. So we'll have one on each end. Maybe not on the very end. We'll go in maybe 1 inch.
We'll start off with a small bit. We'll gradually increase the size. Probably don't know. I actually don't know what size the cotter pin will be, so we'll just get it started and go from there.
There. There's the first hole. And on this side, 1 1.25 inches. That sounds good to me. Now that those 2 holes are made, we can prepare the spit by drilling holes through there in the right places. Just want to make sure that put it on the wheel. Yeah, that's interfering right there with the drill. There's always some issue. Ay, 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 ay. I think I'm going to have to take this connector off so I can get in there. I mean, I could... No, I can't drill that way. All right. After looking this over, I think I'm going to have to take this tire top plate off so I can get the nut off of this connector, so I can take this off and drill a hole through it. If I had a really long drill bit, I could do it, but that's not going to cut it. There's a little lock nut washer there. Okay. Now, all right. Yay, we did it. Now, let's hurry up before we forget how this all goes back together. So that goes on there. The wood is through there. So I'm gonna stick that conduit on there, line it up with the hole. Make sure the wood is all the way in as much as possible. Take the pencil and mark onto the wood. I might put some electrical tape here to hold this in the right position. All right. So here's the spit configuration, all semi-assembled. All I need to do is take these re-rods, stuck them through the EMT just to figure out where I want to pound them into the ground and ruin my backyard. And I have one over here. I used the mallet because when I was doing this like this, it would slice a part of my rubber mallet off there. I didn't hit it exactly on top, so this is better for my tool. Doesn't have to be in too much. This is just set up, and we'll do the same thing on this side. And we just take each side here, slip it over the re-rod. And there we go. Not bad. And once we get the cotter pin, this will be complete. Looks like it's gonna work out much better than before. So one of the cotter pins will go through here, which is attached to the wheel, and with an Allen wrench we'll tighten that set screw. Well, when this conduit turns, it'll turn the bearing as well. There are 2 set screws for the bearing on each bearing, so I guess we'll do that so everything works as frictionless as possible. And plus, we don't want it to be sliding. We don't want this conduit to be sliding back and forth like that, because it will throw off the alignment of the rope that's around this wheel and going up to the pulley. Got to make sure that's pretty much in line, and if this moves, it'll throw it off. So we definitely want to tighten these set screws. The other thing we want to do is drill some holes in the spit at various places. Not too many holes, but just in positions where I think a chicken would be positioned well, so we can stick this bamboo skewer through the spit, and it will go through the chicken and prevent it from not rotating with the spit. This is pretty important. So I think I'm just going to eyeball it. And the other thing is, I don't want the holes all in one direction. That's about the middle. Okay, so a chicken probably be about that big. So we could fit one here, one here, one here, and we have some room, so I guess right about there. But I don't want to drill them all in the same direction, so maybe the middle one will be there. Draw a circle around it. This one will be at a 90-degree angle to the one in the middle. And this one, what do you think? Maybe a 45-degree angle? So they're all a little bit staggered, so we don't want the heavy part of the chicken to be hanging on the bottom. See if that fits. Yeah, that fits. Goes in pretty smoothly, actually. I wonder if it needs to be a little tighter. No, I think I'll leave it like that. I say leave it like that because sometimes when you're sticking this in through the chicken, it's hard to find where that hole is. So it's nice if it goes through easily. The problem might be that, you know, the skewer goes, it drops out of the chicken, but we can prevent that with tying some twine on the chicken in opposite directions, so you have a little pressure on this skewer. So here are the 2-inch cotter pins. We're just going to stick those through the spit, and everything should be securely fastened. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't make that hole any bigger. There, that's not going anywhere. Nice. And we can take this tape off now. Now over here, I suppose we could put a cotter pin through here. However, I'm not sure. I want it to be adaptable to any situation, so I don't really want to fix this into a spot. And if I drill a hole through here and the wood, I mean, I guess I could put it in have a few different options, but I'd rather have it completely adjustable. Now I could tighten the set screws so this would stay still and this wood would spin around inside, which I think will be okay. I mean, there's more friction that way. Yeah, definitely smoother if we can tighten that bearing. Let me think about that for a minute. All right, I've decided what to do here. I'm going to use my friend Mike's idea about the Christmas tree stand solution, and I'm going to drill 3 screws through the EMT here, and they'll sink into the wood and hold that firm. So that means we're going to have to create some threads in this EMT, so the screws will thread onto that and press against this wood to hold that in place. I could only find Phillips head screws in the side, but I really want to get some thumb thumb screws. But you know, this is a process and takes time to find the right materials, and I think this will work out just fine. I just have to bring a Phillips head screwdriver, which isn't really something I like to do when I go camping. But I think we've already gone way beyond a normal camping experience anyway. This is not normal. All right, my dad picked up a metric tap and die set, and this is what we're going to use to have the Christmas tree effect, to attach the 3/4 inch EMT to the wooden spit so we're not cooking with galvanized steel. So he's going to show me how to do this.
We're going to put a set screw in, like you said, and David marked it. You marked it where you want to have it exactly go in.
Right.
So I'm going to, I show you the center punch. This punches, is rather than hitting us with a hammer, remember we push down and it has a spring that'll make the little divot in it. So I'm going to line it up. I'm going to watch, make sure that the point is right where the two lines cross. And then I'm going to push down until it clicks like that.
Okay.
I'll do it again. And when you hear the click, you know that you made the divot, and then you can see you made a nice divot right exactly on the cross point there. So that's going to help us, especially this is a pipe. It's not a flat surface. The drill's going to tend to want to wander all over the place. And since we're not doing it in the drill press, we're just doing it with a hand drill. This way helps us to keep it straighter.
That's just a regular drill bit, right?
Well, it's a metric drill bit that's designed to go to the size you need to tap the hole to make the screws. So it's not just a regular, it's a special drill bit size that's made to go with the tap. It's a little bit smaller than the little teeth that you're cutting into the pipe, because if it was too big, the screw wouldn't hold, and if it was too small, you couldn't get it in. So it's got to be just like Goldie Bears, the Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It's got to be just right to make it tap. So this is just right, and it's actually printed right on the bit that it's a. This one happens to be metric size 5, and the pitch is 0.8. So that's what we're working with here. So I'm going to go a little slow. Okay, so now I say it's making chips. It's going to get really hot, and I don't want to burn the bit, and I don't want to create a lot of burrs, so I'm going to just take some oil, in this case some WD-40, something to lubricate it so it doesn't get stuck when it's drilling, and it takes the chips out nice. And you can see I got a really good divot there. So a lot of times you might try to drill on something, if you don't put a really good starting point with a center punch, it'll wander. It tends to wander because you're drilling on just a little section and it's not flat, so it's going to tend to want to wander away. So I'm going to check and make sure I'm holding the drill perpendicular so when we screw in the screw, it doesn't go in sideways. It goes in straight up and down. So I'm going to just use my eyeballs. They used to make drills that had a little level on the top that you can tell what you were doing, right? Or you could get a stick-on level and put it right on top, and it's a bubble level, and you just keep drilling with the drill centered in the bubble, and you'll know that it's straight. But we don't have that, so. See, the bill's starting to get sticky because it's almost through. So I'm going to put more lubrication on there so it doesn't bind. And I can get a nice clean. Oh. That's doing it. It's starting to catch just like I said, but it's not tight enough. So we've got to tighten it up. Oh, it's pretty tight. I think we're pretty well done. Yep. So I got a nice clean hole now. So the tap is male. That's called the tap. It's going into a hole. It's a male.
Okay.
If it was a rod that was coming up and you were going to put threads on it, it would be a die. And that's the little square ones.
Okay.
It's got different tools to drive them. And this tool is if you get stuck, you can get more leverage just by moving the handle back and forth. But it's good if you do it right in the center like this, because then you're not going to make a mistake and then have to we drill it.
So this is called a tap and die.
Tap and die set.
What,
And we're making threads.
what does it mean when you see on the side of a truck it says Tool and Die Company?
It's a company that does work with metal, and they make metal tools like taps and dies and micrometers or all kinds of things.
I see.
And so it's starting to work really well. It looks really, so you can see it's straight up and down. But now I'm actually machining the steel. So I want to do it really smoothly so it makes a really nice thread. And you just can't do it a little bit. It's tapered. So it starts smaller at the bottom, and as you get further and further into it, it gets bigger and bigger. It cuts deeper and deeper. So if you just do it a little bit and say I'm done, you're not done yet. So you got to make sure you go at least a quarter, 3/8 of an inch. And if it's a solid piece of metal, you have to use a different type of tap. It's called a bottom tap. It doesn't have a little point at the end of it. It's flat, so we go all the way to the bottom of a flat hole. So if we have to go into a bar or something like that and it's not to go through the bar, then you need a bottom tap. But this is fine for this. There's plenty of room inside the tube. And you can see now it's super easy to turn it. So we've cut it. We're done. So let's try it with a screw. And then it should go nice and easy. And you have actually made a threaded connection. And you're done.
Nice. All right, so here's the finished product. Doesn't that look like a Christmas tree stand? Might have to loosen these screws a little bit. Whoops.
Yeah, because it's really thin, so yeah.
I'm going to stick it right about there. So
Once you go in about a quarter of an inch, that wood's not going to go anywhere.
So now these set screws, we'll tighten a little bit here. There were only two, so.
Oh, it's just two? Oh, okay. The tube's bigger, so I don't think you'd have to worry about having a flat spot on the EMT.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, a little wobble at that end, but maybe I can adjust the set screw a little.
But you've taken more than half of the wobble out of it.
You know those pins that kind of clip that goes around?
Yeah, tractor clips.
Yeah. Do you think those would work?
Sure. You have to get a big one though.
It all comes together. It works like a dream.